How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Rabid from 1977. This is directed by David Cronenberg and stars Marilyn Chambers. So, to begin, I am actually a really big David Cronenberg fan, so it's kind of weird that I haven't covered him on the channel yet. I watched a lot of his stuff before I started this, and that's pretty much the reason why. And of course, if I'm going to start with David Cronenberg, I'm going to start with the zombie one, because apparently I like zombie movies more than I thought I did. I mean, I always knew I liked zombie movies, but then I, start this channel and I sort everything by playlist, and I realize, oh wow, I am watching a ton of zombie movies. There'll be a playlist to those at the end, but yeah, I apparently watched a bunch of them. But also, right before we get into the review, I just want to quickly say that I was at Walmart, and there is a new release. I saw this Walmart, my movie store. Vestron Video put out David Cronenberg's Shivers, and the DVD of this was getting pretty hard to find. This also is known as They Come From Within or something. So I'm glad that it finally got a Blu-ray release, and now, more people can watch it. So, really quick before we get into the review, David Cronenberg fans, there is a new Blu-ray release of Shivers, and it seems to be pretty widely distributed. So, go check that out. I was super glad to find this, and this was only like $13. It was pretty cheap for a Blu-ray. Anyway, just set that there. Don't fall over? Okay. So let's just jump right into the review. I'll do a little bit of the plot, no spoilers, but enough to give you an idea of what this movie is about if you haven't seen this. So this movie's about a girl named Rose, played by Marilyn Chambers. Her and her boyfriend are riding their motorcycle through the country, the middle of nowhere, when there's a horrific accident. You see, this van was trying to turn around the middle of the road. It got stuck halfway and they couldn't get it started again. And the motorcycle doesn't see it in time, crashes into the front engine, spins around and lands in the field. Now, the boyfriend was hurt enough to go to the hospital, but overall, more or less okay. But the girl, Rose, was trapped under the motorcycle in the crash and was severely burnt. Now, unfortunately for them, they're in the middle of nowhere. There's no hospital nearby, at least not a conventional one. You see, luckily for them, or at least it seems luckily at the beginning, there is not a regular hospital nearby, but there's this place called the Keloid Clinic. Now, the Keloid Clinic is a new special plastic surgery place that has a dream of becoming a franchise. One of the characters says, are we going to be the Colonel Sanders of plastic surgery? And in addition to doing lots of plastic surgery work, they're developing new techniques. And when they bring Rose in, they do enough to save her life, but in regards to the burns, they want to try a new technique on her. So their technique, basically, they can take skin and move it to other parts of the body. They can take tissue and move it somewhere else, which can be done before to varying degrees of success. But with them, they basically take it, then they give it a special treatment, and once they treat the tissue, it has the ability to mimic wherever they need it to be, wherever they put it. So they give the tissue a special treatment in order to transplant it, and hopefully, fix the horrible burn marks. Now, Rose is in a coma for a couple weeks, I think. Her boyfriend has to go home. He's there just glumly repairing the motorcycle, probably just to get something to do. When eventually she wakes up. She wakes up hungry, but not for food. She has a sudden thirst for blood. She's developed a special stinger, and she wants to suck the blood from people. if you guys ever have seen the movie Species, it was probably inspired by this movie, or at least in part. When she goes to see someone, there's definitely some sexual undertones there, and luring someone in to suck their blood, kind of has this feel of, like, say, seduction, which, granted, it's already kind of a vampire thing, and vampires had been talked about that way before, and it's David Cronenberg, who has these undertones in a lot of his movies, so we get that. But based on what's about to happen, keep that idea in mind. So, she needs blood. She can't just kill everyone in this clinic, so she eventually, she tries to go to the neighboring places, but she's like, I gotta get out of here. So she's on the run. Before she leaves, she calls her boyfriend, and the boyfriend goes down to try to get her, but she's already gone by that point, and his story becomes going through the world trying to find her. Now, this is going to be a little harder, granted what's about to happen in the world. You see, the people that Rose has sucked blood from, they awaken in kind of a stupor, a little bit of amnesia. They can't really remember the last little bit, and then they start to, slowly fade and go. And when they wake up again, they have the sudden need to eat and bite people. So everyone that she's sucked blood from essentially becomes a zombie. They say it's like a new mutated strand of rabies, probably, although they don't really know, but that gives it the title Rabid, rabies. So these people go and they want to bite other people, and you see the world in this movie where it's a few cases at the clinic, they don't know what to do, and then it gets to be a few more, and it's a little out of control, and then some of the news is covering, and they're like, okay, this might be a thing. And then once people realize it might be a thing, all of a sudden, it's an outbreak. The shift from, oh no, there's something there, okay, maybe we need to be a little serious at something, and all of a sudden, boom. It kind of, a little bit like how it happened in real life, where, hey, I hear there's something going on there, to all of a sudden we're all locked down for 3 months. Obviously, no zombies in real life, so, small favors, right? But anyway, so yeah, you get to see the world just suddenly collapse and turn into the zombie apocalypse, and, you get scenes where it seems like a normal time, and then all of a sudden, oh no, there's one of them there, and, there'll be a zombie, and all of a sudden, and it's really good if you guys like zombie apocalypse movies that are about the initial collapse. This is a good initial collapse movie. But yeah, so you get her on the run, and the zombies are, even showing up for her, but she, she's kind of in this state where it almost feels like she woke up recently. She doesn't quite understand the consequences of her actions. She's kind of like a Typhoid Mary character, where she's immune to it, but she's giving it to other people. And she doesn't even realize at first that that's what she's doing. She doesn't know that the world outside is all because of her, stinging people. She's wondering, trying to find maybe a friend to stay with, and the boyfriend's trying to find her, see if he can figure out where she went, and then just going through this world is going to be harder and harder, and you get to see the government and people trying to track down where it came from, what happened, and no one even knows it's her for a bit, and trying to figure out how to stop and contain this. It really is a cool and different zombie movie, because like I said, the first half of it is Species, which again wouldn't come till years and years later, but it's like a creature feature, almost a vampire movie, with this girl, killing people, almost like, say, a slasher or something, although it's not really slasher style in the kills, but, the one person going around getting victim after victim. But then it transitions from that into a zombie movie, a beginning of the Plague zombie movie, and seeing the whole world collapse. it really is cool to have these two halves, and it makes it really different. A lot of people, like I said earlier, the scenes where she's sucking people's blood are kind of read as sexual in nature. And then there's a plague. A lot of people think this movie's a metaphor for, say, STDs, and that's where a lot gets written about this movie in the critical circle. But yeah, really good. As far as flaws, which I don't really think they're too terribly bad, but this has a cold and distant feel from his characters. You get to see a tiny, tiny bit of Rose before the motorcycle wreck, so you don't really get to know her beforehand, so you only get to see her after she's woken up, in this new state. But I think that's part of it. I think Cronenberg wanted a cold and distant attitude from these characters to make it feel grimmer, but for those of you who really want to relate to someone and, want that, there's, like, no humor, well, maybe a little bit of humor in this movie, but it is a cold and calculated movie that wants to look at the path of one woman to destruction, destruction of all of Canada. And, well, yeah, this is one more thing, too. Canada, David Cronenberg, Canadian, I believe. This was shot in Canada, and it was one of the first movies to take advantage of special Canadian tax breaks and government support. And, at first you're like, okay, that's kind of boring. Who cares about film funding? Well, if it wasn't for movies like this, and actually a few of David Cronenberg's other early movies that were kind of made through this way, you wouldn't get so much filming moving to Canada now. A lot of movies and TV are shot in Vancouver because it's so cheap to film there, and it's movies like this that help pave the way into creating Canada being like a new mini Hollywood, kind of like today's Italy. Instead of spaghetti westerns, you get Canadian television. So that is a cool and important bit of history there. But yeah, some people at the time weren't too happy the government was spending money on this, but it was financially successful, so it kept going. But yeah, really interesting, and actually pretty important because of that. I mean, that's an important shift in TV there. But anyway, another thing, Cronenberg fans, this does have some gore. The weird little stinger thing is definitely a Cronenbergian element, and there is some blood and, the undertones. But, David Cronenberg, people tend to think of things like The Fly with big, gory transformation sequences and giant, gross things. This is not as gross and not as much special effects. So if you're looking for a Cronenberg movie that's really Cronenbergy, check out The Fly or Videodrome for the special weird body horror that Cronenberg's known for, but not so much in this movie. But overall, a really good movie. It's a unique zombie movie, and I like the take, the one person, turning into a world's thing, the up in scale and the two different halves of the movie, the vampire-esque half versus the zombie half. It's a different take on zombies, the world collapsing. It's good to see an initial collapse zombie movie, and it's a really good early Cronenberg. That being said, I need to cover more Cronenberg. I had seen this movie before I watched it to do this review, so this is a rewatch for the review. I need to go and rewatch several Cronenberg movies. There's lots of great ones. The Brood, I remember being really good. I really want to see Videodrome again. I have not yet seen, there's this one called Spider that he did that I just found. And of course I need to watch Shivers there. I'm not sure when I'll get to this because Halloween is coming up, and for October I'm going to focus on Halloween movies. So I don't think David Cronenberg has a Halloween movie, so probably November then. But anyway, that being said, I do about 95% horror on this channel, So if that sounds like something you're interested in, definitely stick around. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching, and to everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. There's actually a remake to this movie. I need to do that sometime as well. So I'll get to this eventually. But anyway, yeah. More horror movies coming up. I'll put a relevant playlist down at the bottom. Probably a zombies movies playlist. Anyway, I'll see you guys again very soon. Have a good day. See ya soon.